Right. Yeah, I'm with you. There were two crosses that stood out. The one, the use of force expert, definitely stood out to me. And then, of course, the cross of Dr. David Fowler, who was the medical expert. Thank you for that, Imran. Lara, same question to you, please. What stood out to you as tipping the scales of justice? And what are your thoughts on the verdict?
I mean, the problem for the prosecution in this case from day one, the weak part was the cause of death. And they hit a home run with that with Dr. Tobin. I mean, I agree with you, Julie. He was the one who made the case for them. I mean, the defense did bring in Dr. Fowler, who I thought was also a phenomenal witness, but it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough, and it's pretty clear based on the verdict of the jury. Was there reasonable doubt? Maybe, but clearly Dr. Tobin's testimony here was just almost bulletproof. He was solid. He had the resume. And he was the expert who had an expertise in respiratory and critical care. And that's exactly where they needed to focus. And as I said, to me, he was the one that stood out. And, the rest of it, the use of force, that was not where the real battle was. The battle of the experts really was with the cause of death. And clearly the prosecution won here with that phenomenal witness that they had.
Right. And I have a follow-up question for you, please, Lara. I really want to tap into your criminal defense experience, and you've handled very high-profile cases. What was stunning to me, of course, for the prosecution, I loved Dr. Martin Tobin. He was sensational. I'm sure he's going to get flooded with calls. Everybody's going to want him to be their expert witness because he became like the favorite professor. He was teaching the jury. He was engaging. He was believable. Where I felt like the defense missed an opportunity was before the trial even began, in the motions, to try to confine his testimony. If they couldn't preclude it entirely, I feel like they should have tried to file a motion to confine it under Rule 703 to just what's in his purview. He's not a forensic pathologist, but yet he opined on cause of death. They all did, all of them, and only two of them were trained to do that. Only two of them do autopsies and are trained to determine a cause and manner of death. So I'm wondering, if you were on this team, would that have been a battle you would have fought vigorously prior to trial to try to limit it, knowing this guy is going to come out of the gate swinging?
Obviously, in hindsight, it's easy to say what we would have done. I have no idea if this defense team knew how strong of a witness Dr. Tobin was going to be. But they must have had an idea, and I agree with you. It should have been something that should have been battled out in motions in limine prior to the trial. I noticed there was this practice in this trial with a lot of witnesses, even lay witnesses, giving expert opinion. And I was really surprised by that. There were really not enough objections. And many of these should have been handled before the trial. And to me, that was truly surprising. And I agree with you 100% that this should have been taken care of before the trial. But at this point, it's a little too late. And maybe that comes up on appeal. And most likely it will come up on appeal.
Right. That's a really great point, Lara. Thank you for that. I want to play a clip for both of you now. This is a clip from Dr. David Fowler's testimony. He was the defense medical expert witness, also very good. Spoke with an accent like Dr. Tobin, kind of professorial like him. Let's take a listen to some of what he told the jury.
How would you classify